What if the most dangerous line in your life is one you cross every single day? It doesn't look like a threat. It doesn't feel like a threat. In fact, it tastes good. But every meal you eat is sending signals deep inside your body, signals your cells must respond to. Some foods build, some foods protect, and some slowly create an environment where damage can grow unnoticed. You won't feel it, you won't see it, but inside you, a biological story is unfolding. And that story may be shaping your future more than you realize.
Deep inside your body, trillions of cells are working in silence. Each one holds a copy of your DNA, the instruction manual for life itself. Every second, these cells divide, repair, and replicate. And most of the time, they do it flawlessly. But your cells are not isolated from your lifestyle. What you eat doesn't just fill your stomach, it changes your chemistry. And when chemistry changes, the environment around your DNA changes too. The question is not whether your cells are affected. The question is, how often?
When you consume high amounts of sugar, your blood glucose rises. That part is normal. But inside that spike, something else happens. As your body processes excess glucose, it creates reactive byproducts, molecules that are far more aggressive than sugar itself. One of them is called methylglyoxal. You'll never taste it, you'll never feel it, but under certain conditions, this tiny molecule can attach to DNA. And when it does, it can leave behind molecular scars. Your body is not defenseless. It has repair systems, powerful ones. Proteins constantly scan your DNA, searching for errors, fixing damage before it becomes permanent. It's a remarkable system, but no system is unlimited. When damage happens occasionally, repair keeps up. When damage becomes frequent, from chronic high blood sugar, persistent inflammation, or metabolic stress, the balance begins to shift, and over time, small errors can accumulate. Cancer does not begin with pain. It begins with change. A mutation here, another one there. Cells that once followed strict rules start behaving differently. They divide more quickly. They ignore stop signals. They resist death. And this transformation doesn't happen overnight. It can take years, which is why the real danger is not what happens suddenly, but what builds slowly, in silence. Not all bodies respond the same way. For some people, the repair system is stronger. For others, it carries hidden weaknesses. Certain genes, like BRCA-related repair genes, act as guardians of your DNA. They detect breaks, they coordinate repairs, they prevent chaos. But when these genes are inherited in a damaged form, the shield is thinner. And when metabolic stress is added on top, from poor diet, chronic inflammation, or persistent blood sugar spikes, the risk equation changes. It's not just about what you eat, it's about how resilient your cells are when challenged. Obesity is often seen as a surface issue, a number on a scale, a change in appearance. But biologically, it's far more complex. Excess body fat is not inactive. It releases inflammatory signals, hormones, chemical messengers. It can increase insulin levels and alter cellular communication. And when inflammation becomes chronic, cells live in a state of stress. Stressed cells are less stable, less predictable, and long-term instability creates an environment where mutations are more likely to persist. Inflammation is supposed to protect you. It helps fight infection. It repairs injury. But when inflammation never fully turns off, it becomes something else, a constant background fire. Certain dietary patterns, high in processed foods, refined sugars, and unhealthy fats, can fuel this low-grade inflammation. You may not feel it, but internally, immune signals remain active. And over years, that chronic stimulation can increase cellular wear and tear. Sometimes, the danger isn't intensity, it's duration. Every cell in your body produces energy, and energy production creates byproducts called free radicals. In small amounts, they're manageable, But when metabolic stress increases through poor diet, inactivity, or sustained blood sugar imbalance, free radicals can multiply. They collide with proteins. They interact with DNA. They damage cell membranes. Your body uses antioxidants to neutralize them. But when demand exceeds supply, oxidative stress rises. And over time, oxidative damage becomes another piece of a much larger puzzle. Cancer is rarely the result of one event. It's the accumulation of many small changes, years of metabolic strain, years of inflammation, years of repeated cellular stress. No single meal causes cancer, but consistent patterns matter. Biology responds to repetition. What you eat occasionally is far less powerful than what you eat consistently, and that is where the real story lies. Not in fear, but in patterns. What if the risk isn't hidden in chemicals you can't pronounce, but in foods you eat every week? A growing body of research has linked high consumption of processed meats, excessive red meat, and refined sugars with increased risk of certain cancers, including colorectal, breast, and prostate cancer. It's not about one burger. It's not about one dessert. It's about patterns repeated for years. Processed foods often combine high salt, unhealthy fats, additives, and low fiber. Over time, this combination can influence gut health, inflammation levels, and metabolic balance. And your gut is not separate from your cells. It's connected to everything. Insulin is a survival hormone. It allows your cells to absorb glucose for energy. But when blood sugar rises frequently, insulin levels can remain elevated. And insulin is not just a metabolic hormone, it's also a growth signal. It tells cells to grow, to divide, to multiply. Normally, growth is controlled, but when growth signals remain constantly high, cells receive repeated messages to replicate, and replication increases the chance of mistakes. In biology, more division means more opportunity for error. But this story is not only about risk, it's also about protection. Diets rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, and nuts provide fiber, antioxidants, and phytochemicals. These compounds help neutralize free radicals. They reduce inflammation. They stabilize blood sugar. Fiber especially slows glucose absorption, preventing sharp spikes. It supports healthy gut bacteria, which influence immune function. Protection doesn't come from one superfood. It comes from consistent nourishment. And the body responds remarkably when given the right environment. Maintaining a healthy weight is not just about appearance, it's about metabolic stability. Excess fat tissue can increase estrogen levels, inflammatory cytokines, and insulin resistance. These changes can influence cancer risk over time. But weight is not destiny. Regular movement improves insulin sensitivity. Balanced eating reduces inflammation. Small daily choices compound into biological outcomes. The body is dynamic. It adapts, which means risk is not fixed, it's influenced, and that means change is possible. Here is the truth. Cancer is complex. Genetics play a role. Environment plays a role. Random mutation plays a role. Diet is not the only factor, but it is one of the few you control every single day. You cannot change your DNA, but you can influence how your cells are supported. Every meal is information. Every habit is a signal. The question is not whether food matters. The question is, what story are you writing inside your body? The most dangerous diseases are not always loud. They don't begin with pain. They don't send early warnings. Cancer often develops in silence. Years can pass between the first cellular mutation and the first symptom. During those silent years, cells are changing, adapting, accumulating damage, and most people feel completely normal. That's why prevention doesn't feel urgent, because the threat is invisible. But inside the body, time is always moving, and biology is always responding. No single meal determines your future, but repetition does. A daily soda, frequent processed snacks, years of minimal movement. Each choice seems small, harmless, But biology doesn't measure intention. It measures exposure. Chronic high blood sugar, chronic inflammation, chronic oxidative stress. Over time, these patterns shape your internal environment, and your internal environment influences how cells behave. The body keeps score, even when you don't. The powerful part of this story is that it's not fixed. Metabolism can improve, inflammation can decrease, blood sugar can stabilize. When processed foods are reduced and whole foods increase, when movement becomes consistent, when sleep improves, the body begins to recalibrate. Insulin sensitivity improves, oxidative stress decreases, repair systems function more efficiently. You cannot erase the past, but you can influence the future, and biology responds surprisingly fast to better conditions. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness. The modern food environment is engineered for taste, convenience, and addiction. But your cells were not designed for constant sugar spikes, chronic inflammation, or metabolic overload. Understanding the connection between diet and cellular health is empowerment, not blame. When you understand what's happening inside your body, you make decisions differently, not out of panic, but out of respect for the complexity of your biology. Imagine two futures. In one, habits continue unchanged, the same patterns, the same exposures. In the other, small adjustments are made. More whole foods, more movement, better balance. Both futures begin today. Cancer is not a single switch that turns on. It is often the result of accumulated signals. And while not every case is preventable, risk is influenced. Inside your body, every decision sends a message. The question is, what message will you send next? Science is not saying that food alone causes cancer. It's saying something more precise. Metabolism influences cellular health. Chronic high blood sugar increases reactive byproducts. Persistent inflammation stresses tissues. Excess weight alters hormones and growth signals. Over time, these biological shifts can increase risk. This is not speculation, it's the direction modern research is pointing toward. Diet is not destiny, but it is influence. And influence, repeated daily for years, becomes powerful. Right now, as you watch this, trillions of cells are listening. They respond to nutrients. They respond to hormones. They respond to stress. They don't understand taste. They don't understand cravings. They understand chemistry. When blood sugar stabilizes, they function calmly. When inflammation drops, they repair efficiently. When nutrients are abundant, they defend effectively. Your body is not working against you. It's adapting to what you provide. And adaptation can move in either direction. Prevention doesn't require perfection. It requires consistency. More whole foods, more fiber, more natural color on your plate, less ultra-processed intake, less constant sugar overload, more movement, more balance. Small improvements reduce metabolic strain, and reduced strain means fewer opportunities for cellular damage to accumulate. Prevention is not dramatic. It's quiet, steady, intentional, just like disease progression, but in the opposite direction. Imagine looking at food differently, not just as comfort, not just as convenience, but as information. Every meal sends instructions. Some tell your cells to stabilize. Others tell them to accelerate. Some reduce inflammation. Others amplify it. You don't need to fear food, but understanding it changes your relationship with it. Because when you realize that your daily choices influence cellular behavior, health stops being random and starts becoming intentional. Cancer is complex. Genetics matter. Environment matters. Chance matters. But lifestyle matters too. You cannot control everything, but you can influence something. And sometimes, something is enough to shift the odds. Inside your body, a silent story is being written every day. The question is, will you let it unfold unconsciously, or will you take part in writing it? This is Inside Human. If you value science-backed health insights, subscribe and join us, because understanding your biology is the first step to protecting it.